this is. Are there any other votes? Announce the results.
Ayes 116, noes 0.
The bill is passed.
Hold on 1 second.
Assembly 5612. Assembly 5612, Calendar 217, Mr. Engelbright, an act to amend the Environmental Conservation Law.
The bill is laid aside.
Assembly 5682, Calendar 218, Mr. Kavanaugh, an act to amend the Alcoholic Beverage Control Law.
The bill is laid aside. Mr. Morelli.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Perhaps we could get some order in the chamber and ask the conversations to be taken outside the chambers.
We have a number of members who are standing in the back, talking in the back. We'd like you to take your seats.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I just want to give a little bit of direction. We're now going to take up the 5-bill package of in honor of Sunshine Week. We're going to begin with the next bill on the calendar, 219 by Ms. Peoples-Stokes, and I understand she has some introductory comments that she wishes to make. And just so those of you who are here and those following along at home, we will follow it with calendar number 142 by Mr. Engelbright on page 18. Following that, calendar number 154 on page 19 by Ms. Galiff. On page 20, calendar number 175 by Mr. Zabrowski. And we will conclude the work on this package on page 22, calendar number 181 by Mr. Engelbright.
Right, before we begin, we have staff down in the well down there. Would you please either go down, sit down, move? Thank you. I'm sure you can do that work later. Clerk will read.
Assembly 5768, Calendar 219, Mrs. Peoples-Stokes, an act to amend the Public Officers Law.
Ms. Peoples-Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the Majority Leader and Speaker Hasty for the opportunity to put these 4 bills on the floor today in honor of and recognition of National Sunshine Week. It's a time to bring attention to the fact that public access to government records is essential to the democratic process. These bills that we promote today, Mr. Speaker, are for transparency in government, including increased access to records, and we will continue to evaluate many other proposals and find other innovative ways to let the sun shine in our government and state. Gratefully, Mr. Speaker, the sun is actually shining outside today, and so this bill, the first bill that we have today, is a bill that we have passed in the past, and we're hoping that it can get through both our colleagues in the Senate as well as the governor this time, Mr. Speaker. But it's a bill that will, it's an act to amend the Public Officers Law in relation to allowing the public to submit requests for access to records in any state agency online. As you know, many people are adaptable to online services for a number of things, and we just think that agencies should make issues that they're interested in available to them online as well. So, Mr. Speaker, I will encourage my colleagues to vote in support of this bill, and thank you for the opportunity to present.
Thank you, Ms. Peoples-Stokes. Read the last section.
This act shall take effect January 1st.
Clerk will record the vote. Are there any other votes? Shh. Announce the results.
Ayes 112, noes 3.
The bill is passed.
Assembly 3149, Calendar 142, Mr. Engelbright, an act to amend the Public Officers Law.
Read the last section.
This act shall take effect immediately.
Clerk will record the vote.
Are there any other votes? Announce the results.
Ayes 117, noes 0.
The bill is passed.
Assembly 3489, Calendar 154, Ms. Galiff, an act to amend the Public Officers Law.
An explanation has been requested.
Ability of government agencies in our state to deny a FOIL request due to a claim of copyright protection except where the record reflects artistic creation, scientific or academic research, or if the agency intends to sell the record or derivative work based on it, or unless the agency elects to waive any such exemption.
Mr. Ra,
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the sponsor yield for a quick question?
will the sponsor yield?
Certainly.
The sponsor yields.
Thank you. I certainly recognize the intention of this in terms of making sure information that's prepared by agencies is made publicly available, which is obviously one of the intentions of our FOIL law. But I'm just wondering about the specific language on this in terms of, so obviously we all believe that things that are produced by these agencies are essentially the property of the people of this state, and we want to make sure they have access to them. But just under the language of this, if the agency is required to waive the copyright, suppose something that's prepared by an agency, got to somebody in the private sector, and they concluded in something that they're going to actually sell for profit. Would the agency have any recourse against them doing that?
Well, not really. First of all, these are all projects that are government sponsored, paid for by the government, and they might even be instructed by the government. We sit here often and we instruct a government to do a report on something. That should all be public information in my view, and the view of many of us here. Yes, that information is available now that we have websites and the internet and everything. That information is available, and the people, whether it's a business, whether it's a not-for-profit, they can use that information to develop programs in their communities or build a business around. It's actually good for businesses of New York State, but the government wouldn't have taken the time or the money to create these if the government itself didn't need that information themselves. Say the Department of Transportation, and I've seen this where they're mapping all the roads in New York State, the intersections and so on. A business could take that and develop whatever they want from it, but we need that information ourselves. So we're doing it for our own good, for the good of the public. So, yes. The answer is yes.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the bill?
On the bill.
Just quickly, again, I think the intention of this is right in terms of making the information publicly available. But I think we need to keep in mind the idea of copyright law is to protect information, protect a work that somebody has some ownership in, whether it's an individual or an entity. And if copyright is waived in these works, they go out into the public domain. They could potentially be used in works and sold for profit, and the agency would have no recourse to protect that use. So I think that the language is in need of tightening. It'd be one thing to say the agency cannot use copyright as a reason to deny a FOIL request. It's something entirely different to say they have to waive the copyright because then they lose all rights to protect the use of that work. So I am going to be voting in the negative on this. I support the intention of making this information as publicly available as possible, and it's something we should do, but the language needs to be done in such a way that we can protect the work so that something that the taxpayers of New York State have paid for, they have access to, but it doesn't become something that other people can essentially use for profit, and the state and the taxpayers will have no recourse against that. So just based on the fact I myself happen to have a master's degree in intellectual property law, and I don't think this is properly drafted to accomplish the end, because there are some unanticipated consequences that could come about. And for that reason, I'm going to be voting no and would encourage others to do the same. Thank you.
Read the last section.
This act shall take effect on the 60th day.
The clerk will record the vote.
Are there any other votes? Announce the results.
Ayes 90, noes 30.
The bill is passed.
Assembly 4286B, Calendar 175. Mr. Zabrowski, an act to amend the election law.
Read the last section.
This act shall take effect January 1st, 2016.
Clerk will record the vote. Mr. Zabrowski to explain his vote.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. Good morning.
1 minute. Little quiet, please. Shh. Proceed, sir.
Thank you, sir. What this bill does is probably something that most of our constituents believe to be the law already, which is that there be a disclosure on things that we or anybody sends out on political campaign material that discloses who is sending it. This is really about giving the public information in a day and age where it seems like there's probably far too much negative attack campaign mail out there. It gives the public the ability to evaluate who is sending it, perhaps follow up on that information, and really gives them the tools necessary to evaluate it. We've had a host of instances in my county of Rockland, and I'm sure many of my colleagues also, of campaigns that have devolved into he said, she said, and the public really gets frustrated with it. So what this bill would do would be quite simply require that people who send out or have ads or mailings state or put on print material something that says paid for by blank committee. I think it's a common sense measure. It gives the public more information, really doesn't restrict anything that anybody can say, but just makes them have to have ownership of those statements. So I appreciate this being part of our Sunshine Package. I would ask for all my colleagues to support the bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Fitzpatrick to explain his vote.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to commend the sponsor for this legislation. I would just like to add that maybe we can, at a later date, come back and maybe amend the legislation. There's people should identify themselves, but they should not mislead in those political mailings when they identify themselves. I make reference to one group that sends out a lot of attack mailings under the name Vote Cope. And nobody knows who that group is, but everyone, I think, in this room might know who that group is. That group should identify themselves to the public as who they really are. And if you want to know who that group is, you can come and ask me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzpatrick. Are there any other votes? Announce the results.
Ayes 119, noes 0.
The bill is passed. Mr. Morelli.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to just take a brief moment to introduce a group of young people who are here that we're very excited are in the chamber. They are guests of Mr. Philip Steck, and they are here with their teacher, Mr. Shanahan. This is a fifth grade class from Blue Creek Elementary School in North Colony Central School District. They assure me that they do not have the day off, that this is a legitimate field trip. I questioned them extensively about that, Mr. Speaker, but that story seems to hold up. And we're very excited that they're here. They're a great group of kids and have come here to see the legislative proceedings firsthand, and we would be delighted if you would extend, on behalf of Mr. Steck, the cordialities of the House.
Certainly, on behalf of Mr. Speck, the Speaker, and all the members, we welcome this fifth grade class here to the New York State Assembly. We are the People's House. We extend you the privileges of the floor. We hope that you will have learned considerable about state government, and I assure you there will not be a test later. Thank you so very much. We're happy to have you.
Assembly 4468, Calendar 181, Mr. Englebright, an act to amend the Public Officers Law.
Read the last section.
This act shall take effect immediately.
Clerk will record the vote. Mr. Kearns to explain his vote.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm just rising today to commend the sponsor on this bill. I've had a few instances in my district where we wanted to have access to information that I believe we should have. In the dark of night, the state of New York placed 12 level 3 sex offenders on a residential street in a neighborhood without any notification to local officials, without any notification to state officials. And when we tried to work with OPWDD, we could not get answers to those questions. Unfortunately, they're not too forthcoming. We've been working very hard for the removal of those people and to get a plan and to actually do legislation on this. In addition to this, we all know that we have a foreclosure crisis in this state. Trying to work with DFS to get information, Department of Financial Services, can't get information. We should not, as legislators, have to foil information that we rightly deserve for our constituents. So once again, I know it's a sunny day out tonight, but we need some of these departments to let the sun shine in, to let the light in, and to give us the proper information that as legislators we justly deserve. So with that, I'll be voting in the affirmative.
Mr. Kearns in the affirmative. Are there any other votes? Announce the results.
Ayes 118, noes 0.
The bill is passed. Mr. Morelli.
Yes, sir. Before we take up other resolutions, I do want to give members a reminder on the cycle of subcommittees, budget subcommittees, subcommittee meetings that will be held this afternoon. So if I can go through the schedule, if you're a member of the subcommittee and haven't gotten the schedule, this should provide you with that information. Cycle A will be meeting at 1 p.m. and will include the following subcommittees: Public Protection, Criminal Justice, and Judiciary. Also the Mental Hygiene Subcommittee, the Higher Education Subcommittee, and the General Government Local Assistance Subcommittees. Those will all meet at 1 o'clock. At 1:30, Cycle B will meet. That will include Environment, Agriculture, Housing. That's one subcommittee. Transportation, and the third is the Human Services Labor Subcommittee. Those are all at 1:30, Cycle B. And then finally, Cycle C will meet at 2 p.m., and those two subcommittees are Economic Development is the first, and the second is Health and Education. If people need a review of that, please see me or Mr. Coyne or well, that would probably work. Either of us, we have the schedule, and they can consult the website as well. And with that, I'd ask Mr. Speaker if there are any resolutions to take up at this time.
We have numerous fine resolutions. On the resolutions, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The resolutions are adopted. Mr. Morelli.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, on behalf of Ms. Schimmel, I want to just indicate that there will be a Democratic conference immediately following session in the Speaker's conference room, and I would ask you to call on Mr. Crouch for an announcement as well.
Mr. Crouch for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There will be an immediate Republican conference in the parlor, members only.
Thank you, Mr. Crouch. We have Democratic conference, Speaker's conference room, Republican conference in the parlor. Mr. Morelli.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, with that, I now move that the Assembly stand adjourned until 10 a.m. Thursday, March 17th, tomorrow being a session day.
The Assembly stands adjourned.